Welcome back to your last budget launch. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to switch over from a previous month to a new month in your zero debt budget spreadsheet. So this video applies to you if you've already set up your spreadsheet and budgeted for at least a couple days in 1 month. And the example I'm going to use here is June. June is the month we are finishing out. And we are rolling over into July and starting our July budget. If you're wondering how to get your budget spreadsheet here and it says read only or view only, remember you need to go to File, make a copy, and make your own copy so that you have a copy ready to go for the new month. You're going to do that each month when you get your budget set up. Now, as you can see, there's a lot going on this screen. It looks very, very busy, but basically I have two halves going on. This is June over here, and then right here we start July in a different window. Depending on the size of your screen and what you're working with, I do suggest putting them side by side in two windows to easily copy and paste between them. Today for this example, I am going to time myself. We're going to get this started in just a second over here with this stopwatch. And I'm going to show you that this whole process takes like about 5 minutes to set up your new budget for the month. You might also notice that I have changed our zoom size to 75%, and this just makes it easier to see more of the screen to make sure we're copying and pasting the right things. I just want to pop in here with a quick reminder that you can set up your planning page, which is exactly what we're going to do in this video, and you can set it up before the month begins. So for July, if it's, late June, you can absolutely go ahead and get started and set this all up, but you cannot put in your starting balances for your debts or your starting balances over here, which we are going to do for your checking and savings accounts. You can't do that until literally like the first of, in this case, July, when you have stopped entering things in your June budget and you are now going to enter things in your July budget. So there does need to be a very sharp cutoff where it's almost like you close out 1 month and you start the other month so that your exact balances to the penny are correct. All right, so we're going to get started and I'm going to show you exactly what I do for every step of the way. Okay, step 1, I'm just going to type this in over here. So 6815, enter. So whatever your expected monthly income is, you're going to put it right there. For the debt section, I'm going to copy this. Oops, let's grab it again. And so copy, and I'm going to paste it in right here. And notice how the target red card is going in bold. That's because that was my number 1 priority debt over here. And that's okay. If it's still my number 1 priority debt, I'm going to just toggle this one off and check this one, which would make it bold anyways. Down here, I know that I'm sending $116 extra to debt. I'm going to keep that here. My goal right now is to get everything to look exactly the same, and then I'll make changes if I wanted to. So our next section down here, I want to show you that if I copy this, sometimes it goes in kind of funny over here. So I'm going to double click and get a cursor and paste and then click outside of it. And usually that does a better job of centering that so that it doesn't end up looking like centering on the bottom. So I'm going to paste that in and we get the same. So see how this is the same, like everything is coming over exactly the same. I'm going to go copy this one. We'll see if this one works. There we go. And I do need to grab these check boxes because these are all sinking funds. So we need to go at least through line 13. Okay. And then I'm only using 3 category groups here in this example, but obviously if you were using all of them, you would just copy them over and paste them in. I'm going to copy this and paste there. Okay, so at the top, you will notice that we're down to 0 for both, and that means we got everything. We did it right. I'm going to go over and set up my July paycheck dates. In this example, we're saying partner A, we'll say, gets paid bi-weekly, so the next one is going to be here. It would be July 4th. So I'm going to say that's July 4th. And then partner B, we'll say gets paid on the 2nd Wednesday of the month. And so we'll put it there. And then the next biweekly would be here. And maybe your paychecks change, but I'm going to go ahead and put in, like, let's say these were the same amount every month and we knew we could predict that. So we're going to paste them in here. So everything is set up here unless you wanted to type in your money goals. Maybe they're going to change this month, or maybe you're going to type in some notes for this month. But let's finish just setting up the basics. So for the checking and savings, like the accounts over here, I'm going to grab the names of them here and just paste them because that's just the easiest way to do it. We're going to say today is July 1st because we're setting up July's budget. And now I'm going to go over to on June. I'm going to look for this last tab. Nope, just kidding. Second to last tab. It says month end review. And this is where it's pulling all of my like balances and information. So my checking and high yield savings, I'm closing out June with these balances. So this is what I need to paste in as my starting balance for July. So I am going to highlight here, right click, and say paste special values only. You can also do like the shortcut. This one on a Mac is Command Shift V, probably Control Shift V on a PC. So I'm just double checking those look right. That's my current cash in my accounts when I closed out the month. Now I am going to grab the new starting balance for all of my debts. I'm going to copy these. I'm going to jump back over to the planning page. I'm going to overwrite these with updated balances. So paste special, values only, and it's going to show me the change in my debt. So I could go back and check my planning page on that one if I wanted to. Now, the only other thing here is we want to grab any rollover, right? So I can see here that I have rollover listed in these categories, and I'm going to copy it, and it's from cell phone down, and I'm going to paste it. Now, this is only going to work really well for you as long as you don't rearrange your categories first. If you've rearranged categories and cell phone is not in this exact cell, right, then you're pasting stuff in not aligned to cell phone. So you'd have to go in like piece by piece and make sure it's exactly right. Sometimes you might get zeros, which I'm just going to take them straight out. That's because like that was a category in June that I had covered my overspending from and it had zeroed out. So if you see any zeros, feel free to delete them. It doesn't really, like, you don't need them. And I realize as I'm doing this, I put it in as signed this month. You might end up doing that too. So I'm like, nope, just kidding. It needs to be in rollover. That's where we meant to put it. Okay. So now over here in this section, I'm going to grab these. We are going to put this in rollover for all of these. And I'm going to do paste special values only. And there they are. And then finally down here, I'm going to grab this and put this in rollover. And my goal here, if I did this right, which I can see that I did, is that when in June, it says I'm budgeted to zero. I have nothing up here. And now in July, because I put all my rollover in the exact right spot, I'm also at zero. So you want those to match exactly. Like if for some reason you had $5.22 here, you want this to also say $5.22 to make sure everything is exactly right before you start moving things around. So now, as I begin July, I am going to, like in my monthly bills and expenses, this is the way I personally do it. I like wipe these. I just get rid of anything that's left over. It all goes back up to the top. And I'm going to redistribute for this month. I also might look through here and decide whether I want to pull anything out. No, I'm going to leave that, even the 188 and close. Sometimes I might take that out and just redistribute, but I'm going to leave all that. And what you're going to notice here is that if you've been following my protocol for next month's money, where we didn't set a target for it, but we have a note of how much we wanted to have, at the end of June, we were not quite able to have 3,000, but we do have close. And now what we do is we simply delete the rollover and it pops up here for us to budget for July. So I'm going to go ahead and just make this a little bit bigger for you to see. So in July, let me just check where we are. We're at 7 minutes because I've been talking, but I guarantee we would be at 5 if I wasn't talking. And I know that because I tested this before I filmed. So anyways, here's what you're going to do to get your new month set up. Here's your money that you've got ready to go, and you need to prioritize. This is due on the 2nd. We don't get a paycheck until the 4th. So we have to use this money to cover anything that's due before the 4th. So I definitely have to cover that. I also need to cover these bills and expenses down here. These are all due on the 1st. And this one's debatable. Like, okay, that's right on the edge. So let's go ahead and fund that and see where we are. We're at 124. We are gonna have to fill up one car with gas. So that's $50. And although we went shopping for groceries on June 30th, which was here, we are gonna have to make it through this week with a little bit more in groceries. I'm gonna put the rest there. So that means that we can pay this credit card. We can pay all the bills and expenses that are going to come out. We've got a little bit for groceries and gas. Next month's money will sit here empty until much closer to the end of the month, where we start funding it with money we'll need to do this process for August in this example, right? So we still have money where we could spend if we had to buy something that was like, if we had to buy toothpaste, we've got $23.89 sitting in personal care products right now. So some of these have money, and that's great. But otherwise, if you haven't funded it for the month and there's no rollover, you got to sit tight until your first paycheck arrives. All right, everyone, my last tip for you as you get started with funding a new month in your budget is that if you are going to make any shifts in your categories of like what's going to be where, or you're going to add categories, make sure you do all of that before you start funding them. Because if you're rearranging what's in what order or what is in which grouping, then your assigned this month and rollover is going to possibly be in the wrong spot. So double check your rollover if you've made changes and shifts. And keep in mind that all throughout the month, you are welcome to add categories in the spaces that have not been used before, right? So over on your planning page, we could add a line for number 12, number 13, because they haven't been used before. But if we overwrite something up here, things are going to get messy. So I don't suggest you overwrite anything or change anything until you're at this point, starting a new month, and you're going to get it all set up and organized before you fund your categories and before you log any transactions. All right, I wish you the best of luck with your new month and with your money goals.